Every country on earth at the moment is reforming public education. There are two reasons for it. The first of them is economic. People are trying to work out, how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century? How do we do that, given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week, as the recent turmoil is demonstrating? How do we do that? The second, though, is cultural. Every country on earth is trying to figure out, how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization. How do we square that circle? The problem is they're trying to meet the future by doing what they did in the past. And on the way, they're alienating millions of kids who don't see any purpose in going to school. When we went to school, we were kept there with a story, which is if you worked hard and did well and got a college degree, you would have a job. Our kids don't believe that. And they're right not to, by the way. You're better having a degree than not, but it's not a guarantee anymore. And particularly not if the route to it marginalizes most of the things that you think are important about yourself.
Traditional classrooms, the kinds that I certainly grew up in, really don't reach every child. Not because of teachers, not because of anything the teacher's doing, so much as the actual physical structure of the room. The idea that children learn best by sitting in uniform rows facing the front of the room has been known to be ineffective for some learners since the 1300s. There's a famous painting that shows what a real classroom looked like at the University of Bologna. And when you look at it, you laugh because there's students sleeping, there's students talking to each other, and there's the poor professor in the front of the room trying to give a lecture, hoping that everyone's learning something. So our motivation was to say, if the structure of the classroom is at fault, what new structures could we design that might be better?
I like it because the furniture is comfy and it's easier for you to learn and focus when you're comfy. And I think we get to pick up games whenever we want and the couch is comfortable as you can focus more easily.
The other thing that's important when you think about ideas this way is that when ideas take form in this hunch state, they need to collide with other hunches. Oftentimes, the thing that turns a hunch into a real breakthrough is another hunch that's lurking in somebody else's mind. And you have to figure out a way to create systems that allow those hunches to come together and turn into something bigger than the sum of their parts. That's why, for instance, the coffee house in the age of the Enlightenment, or the Parisian salons of modernism, were such engines of creativity, because they created a space where ideas could mingle and swap and create new forms. When you look at the problem of innovation from this perspective, it sheds a lot of important light on the debate we've been having recently about what the internet is doing to our brains. Are we getting overwhelmed with an always connected, multitasking lifestyle? And is that going to lead to less sophisticated thoughts as we move away from the slower, deeper, contemplative state of reading, for instance? Obviously, I'm a big fan of reading. But I think it's important to remember that the great driver of scientific innovation and technological innovation has been the historic increase in connectivity and our ability to reach out and exchange ideas with other people and to borrow other people's hunches and combine them with our hunches and turn them into something new. That really has, I think, been, more than anything else, the primary engine of creativity and innovation over the last 600 or 700 years. And so yes, it's true we're more distracted. But what has happened that is really miraculous and marvelous over the last 15 years is that we have so many new ways to connect and so many new ways to reach out and find other people who have that missing piece that will complete the idea we're working on, or to stumble serendipitously across some amazing new piece of information that we can use to build and improve our own ideas. That's the real lesson of where good ideas come from. that chance favors the connected mind.
How can we leverage digital media in schools? We can stop being driven by fear. We can start to understand that this is the world the kids live in, and that our schools can reflect that. John Dewey said it best. He said, if we teach today's students the way we taught them yesterday, then we rob them of tomorrow. And we are doing that all over this country.
Literacy has always been defined by the technology, right? Before the printing press, your ability to orally recite something meant to be literate. And so as technology has made things cheaper, we're now saying, well, is someone literate if they cannot critique media, take media in, if they're only taking in traditional text? That's a question to answer today, but what would that mean in 2020? I would venture to say that they won't necessarily be considered as being literate.
We find when we talk about 21st century skills, people often reduce them to skills for the workplace and skills involving technology. And we really are thinking about skills for creativity, for civic engagement, for social life, the full range of experiences that young people will be involved in the future.
If you look around you, young people everywhere, at home, in malls, and in schoolyards, are texting, tweeting, and gaming. They're joining virtual interest groups, making and uploading videos to YouTube, and defining who they are to their friends through their Facebook pages. While many parents are anxious about the time their children spend on cell phones, on social networks, and playing online games, a growing number of researchers and educators are excited about the opportunities these digital media platforms bring to learning. A cell phone can be a distraction in the classroom, or it can be an instant connection to the vast resources of the internet. A digital life may have more virtual relationships than in-person ones, but it improves the opportunities to interact with experts and form groups to support the interests that young people care most about. To produce the new learners of the 21st century, educators and others will have to find the right balance between the perils of being always on and the necessity for young people to creatively use the gadgets and digital media tools of everyday life. For the next hour, we explore 5 stories.
Whenever I get to wear my headphones during class and when I get to do a test and listen to music, it just makes me calm down and I don't hear anything else.
It just helps me focus. It gets me entertained for math and science and social studies, all the language, all the subjects.
It keeps me calm and focused where I can work better. I like bringing my iPad because I don't like using the computers and it's cool to use my iPad at school. I like using my iPod because I don't really like using the computers as much as I like using my own technology.
I like the tablet better than computers since it's a lot easier.